Joe, I'm going to ask you to put on your manager's hat. How many fights does Inoue and what names does he fight at 122 before he moves up to 126? And when he moves up to 126, what name fighter or what guy do you put him up against?
All right, so I'm gonna look up the boxing champs at one, just boxing champions, and we'll look at 126 in specific. But if I'm his manager, his promoter, I want him to fight as long as possible at 122 because look, he's obviously generating a lot of money. He's knocking all these guys out. So if I want to be smart, I don't want to risk him too much. I want him to fight all the guys at 122. He already has all the belts, but he can still wipe all those guys out. And here, let me go ahead and show you this. Look, 122. There's still interesting fights there, so why not? 126, Ray Vargas, Mexican name. I think that sells. Nick Ball, Angelo Leo just won that belt. I think that's, when we talked about 140, my biased opinion against Cruz, I said, hey man, if you want a belt, you target Cruz, right? I think at 126, if you were to target anyone, target Angelo Leo, who just won it by stopping our boy Venado Lopez. But I think that's a very, very winnable fight for whoever fights against Angelo Leo. And then you got Rafael Espinosa. So all those fights, I think, generate money for Inoue. And I don't think any of those guys are really devastating punchers like that. I'm sure El Tren Robesi Ramirez will insert his name somewhere in this mix. That's an interesting fight, gold medalist. And then Brandon Figueroa is also there. He's one of the interim champions. So 126, I think there's big money fights for Inoue. Those could happen in the States. But man, look, there's still interest in fights at 122. So why not, keep wiping that division? And then as he grows into his body, he's 31 years old. As he gets older, I'm sure gaining weight will be easier than ever. And losing it will be harder than ever. So I would say 2 more fights at 122, man. And then the big money fights at 26.
For sure. I'm gonna tell Joel Diaz, hey, I hear that there's only 2 more fights. You better get MJ in that.
There you go.
He moves on up. But no, I completely agree. When you're a promoter, when you're a manager, you want to try to maximize, your blue chip fighter in this case, in a way. So you want to make as much money as you can before you start to take some risks. When I look at 122, I can see him clearing, a lot of those name fighters in the top 10 handedly. When I look at 126, Gio, that's when I start to, if I put on my manager's hat, I say I'm not going to put him against the punchers in that division. I mean, Ray Vargas, like you said, enticing Mexican, so he's already got that fan base built in, but he's got 22 knockouts in about 36 fights.
And he's very tall for that division, very tall. So that's a tough matchup for anyone.
And very lengthy. And then you obviously mentioned Robesi. That's the one that can sell. But you stay away from the guy that beat Robesi and Rafael Espinosa. 25-0, Mexican, that can sell because of the fan base, but he's got 21 knockouts. So, a guy like Rafael Espinosa who was relatively unknown, had nothing to lose, and that makes him for a dangerous fighter. So I agree with you. You go after a guy like Angelo Leo, 26 fights, only 12 knockouts. Even though he did get our guy, it's not backed by a lot of power. So a guy like Inoue, that's a good fight to break into a higher weight division. But yeah, man, again, lots of fights for Inoue to do at 122, 126. And again, you only get these kinds of fights when you get a generational talent like Naoya Inoue.
1,000%. And look, people in the comments here, Iceman says, I want to see Nakatani versus Inoue. Nakatani is at 118 right now. All right.
Yeah.
He's a champion at 118. So if he can make his way up, I think that's a mega fight. And you know where it's going to happen, Chris. It's going to be in Japan, and the haters are going to hate. But that's a big money fight in Japan. That's probably a pay-per-view fight here, man. I know a lot of people are not too familiar with Junto Nakatani or even with Naoya Inoue. You see the criticism that Inoue takes. A lot of people are saying, oh, he's fighting nobodies. Oh, he doesn't fight over here. Man, those people don't know what they're talking about. But, that fight in Japan is a mega fight, man. Nakatani Inoue's brother Takuma Inoue is also a champion at 118. Um, but I do think at 118 Nakatani is the best fighter there. Uh, Man, he should be mentioned as one of the top pound for pound fighters, top 10, I believe. But I think he just needs that big money, that big name, I should say. And Inoue is definitely that. So they're only four pounds apart. We'll see how long it stays at 122. Like I said, I think two, maybe three more fights, and he might be on the move. But yeah, man, things are gonna get very, very interesting. Now he's gonna get a big fight, man. He's gonna get a big fight. So I'm looking forward to it. Now, as you look at 130, I think this is where guys are a little different when it comes to size, man. Emmanuel Navarrete, what is he, like 5'8", 5'9"? He might be about 5'8". He's not on the, but he does have that crazy reach. He's a champion there. Um, Anthony, I've never heard of this guy. I'm not gonna lie. Lamont Roach and Robson Conceição, who won that championship against Shockey Foster in a controversial fight, and then Valdez is still at 130. So that's where it starts getting dangerous, in my opinion, for a guy like Nakatani. But look, I think a guy like Conceição, I think he could beat. But hey, one step at a time. One step at a time.
Yeah, no, again, like you said, Funto Nakatani versus Naoya Inoue, that would be probably Japan's biggest fight in its history. Uh, a guy like Funto Nakatani, Gio, he's 26 years old. Inoue, you said, was 30, 31. How long do you wait to challenge a guy like Inoue? Do you wait 2 years when you're 28? When Inoue is 33, do you try to challenge him at the peak of his powers? Do you try to time it, before Inoue moves up to 126? Where do you find the common ground, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think the second one you said, I think Nakatani's smart. He tries to challenge him soon, very soon. You don't want to keep gaining weight, keep gaining that power. You would assume that the heavier he gets, the power is going to increase at least a little bit. So I'd go for it now. Iceman says Nakatani's big for 118, so it's a very doable slash makeable, if that's even a word, fight. My opinion. So yeah, that's exciting, man. It's exciting.
Yeah, I see their size and their styles, and I think of like Amir Khan when he was sparring, Pacquiao, but obviously smaller divisions. But Nakatani with that height advantage, in a way with that you know frame that kind of looks like Pacquiao. I feel like that's the kind of fight that would kind of materialize if you see the Amir Khan versus Pacquiao sparring sessions. I kind of imagine Nakatani in a way kind of that kind of style meshing out in that sense. But yeah, man, if I'm Nakatani, I try to catch it. And that could be one of the biggest fights. And we've seen him have knockout reels. He's got the power to hurt anybody in and around his division. So we'll see if that fight ever materializes. I would love to see it before Inoue gets falls in love with that 126 division. So yeah, man, we'll see what happens. But yeah, definitely Inoue. The next 2-3 years are going to be very, very fun for us to watch.